of Canterbury.
Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in favour of this bill, and I appreciate that it is one that arouses great passion in the House. Suffice to say, I don't agree with the notion that democracy has been abandoned. It is appropriate that central government steps in when a failure has occurred at a council, and failure certainly did occur at Environment Canterbury. It was ranked worst out of 84 councils in New Zealand, and a review group stated that the institutional failure at Environment Canterbury requires comprehensive and rapid intervention on the part of central government to enhance both regional and national well-being. And so we did have a failure. Commissioners were installed, and they have done an excellent job under the stewardship of Dame Margaret Basie. And so this bill gives them the time to finish the job, and on that basis, I support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well done. Split call.
Split call is correct, Mr. Speaker.
Ruth Dyson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Can I first of all acknowledge the member who's just resumed his seat and thank him for acknowledging the fact that this issue has caused such a lot of concern in Canterbury. I think that was a fair acknowledgement. The member did come as a member of the Select Committee and heard the very strongly put opposition to this bill by a large number of Cantabrians. In fact, of the 95 submissions on this bill, only 5 were in favour, and they were from Federated Farmers and 2 irrigation companies in Ngāi Tahu, which was significant, but significant because of their wish to have a better dialogue and engagement with our regional council rather than their dissatisfaction. They did note that they'd never had a good relationship with elected officers before, and I think that that's something that we certainly would not support and would, wish that Ngāi Tahu would have a better relationship with all elected officials, but it doesn't justify not just sacking our elected representatives, but sacking them for a further 3 years. I suppose what I've been surprised about in listening to this debate through all its stages, including quite a fair length of time in the committee stages, is that not one member of the National Party found fit to justify why they had made their recently returned to Cabinet Minister, the Honourable Dr Nick Smith, why they had supported making him a liar. And Mr Speaker, I think it's really offensive to have a Minister of Cabinet put on public record, not just in an aside, but in a considered and serious way, as Dr Nick Smith is wont to do. He said this, Mr Speaker, he said, whatever the circumstances, the next regional council elections in Canterbury will take place no later than the elections scheduled for late 2013. Nick Smith promised that when he was the minister responsible for introducing the Act that we are now amending. And I think it's an outrage that members of his own party don't even acknowledge the fact that he said that in good faith. People in Canterbury believed his promise to us. We thought it was bad enough that we were having our right to vote taken away for a little while. This is just extraordinary. Our faith in Nick Smith has been shattered, not by him, but by members of his own party in government. Mr Chairman, but the deceit and the unnecessary need for this legislation has carried on. The first Cabinet paper that was signed by the Honourable David Carter when he was Minister of Local Government and the Minister for the Environment, very new to that job, Amy Adams, stated that any option except a return to a fully elected council would limit the democratic rights of residents of Canterbury compared to the rest of the country. That's true. They saw that as a problem. The government members don't seem to think it's an issue at all. Taking away a democratic right to vote doesn't seem to have occurred to them as being a problem. Their outrageous dismissal of our right to vote for our regional council and saying the current commissioners are doing a good job beggars belief. It is hard to accept that in New Zealand, the country so proud of giving the right, or for women winning the right to vote nearly 120 years ago, for us in an entire region to have our right to vote taken away from us with this bland dismissal from the government in an arrogant and offensive way just beggars belief. Mr Chairman. And it's certainly not the only way that Canterburyans and the rest of the country actually are feeling stompled over by this government. Mr Chairman, the other issue that I just want to briefly mention, and I certainly have mentioned it in my earlier contributions, is the fact that in the regulatory impact statement, yet again, advice not just from one ministry, not just from two, but from all three ministries giving advice on this bill, recommended that the water conservation orders be restored to the state that every other region has them. Again, this bill takes away that standard process that we have had. And in Canterbury, protection of our water is more critical to us than in anywhere else in New Zealand. It is the biggest issue in Canterbury. That's why we have seen the government take away this democratic right, because some of us think that our water needs to be preserved and cared for and protected for future generations, because the way that the irrigators are using it up means that we have now rivers that are dry, we have aquifers that are polluted, and a treasure that we should be able to pass on to future generations that is being lost.
Mojo Mathers.